My name is Roberto Alvarez. I am a front-end engineer at BigCommerce. I have been here at the company for 6 years now, working with the channels domain, enabling our merchants to sell their products in third-party marketplaces. Today, I'm going to be talking about BigDesign. BigDesign is a collection of React components that allow you to leverage the BigCommerce look and feel. It allows you to quickly integrate it into your application. So if you're building like an app in the BigCommerce ecosystem, or if you want to just accomplish the look and feel of our interfaces, we do use it internally quite a bit. Here is where everything is hosted. So you'll be greeted here with some of the links to, important stuff as the code or some other stuff. So be sure to check those out. Basically, what I want to highlight here is the left nav. We have separated our components into foundational stuff, layouts, actions, inputs, and then things for status, feedback, such as alerts. And then we do have some section for utilities to provide, some paddings and margins and whatnot. This is how our primary buttons look. They have a certain shade of blue, they have a certain padding and whatnot. You basically get all of that for free. And in our documentations, you'll be greeted by an overview section where you'll be able to see when to use which buttons, how to, navigate between the properties. Here, you can see a live example of the component in action. So this is like a live sandbox. You can modify things here. So we can change the name to CTA or new button or whatever, and you'll see the example run it live. You can also change variant props. So for instance, if we want another variant that is not primary, we can change it to secondary, and you'll see the changes here. So this is quite handy just to try out, quick things without spinning up an entire app. You can also see here some of the inherited properties that you'll get from other components. So for instance, the button component inherits a few margin props, so you can always provide new margins and whatnot. And this section is also kind of important. Interesting thing that you can note, we provide a series of do's and don'ts as far as design goes and design patterns. That'll basically give you a high overview of how to properly use the components in a way that they're meant to be used. So for instance, in the case of buttons, you shouldn't have more than one primary button on a page, because primary buttons are intended for main page level CTAs. So, here you can learn more about, how to properly use your components and whatnot. So basically that's how our docs are structured. And now I'm going to jump into a quick application. I did code it beforehand, but I do want to highlight some of the components that I use and some of the things that will probably be very common in terms of building UIs. Those are the things that I want to focus on. The first one is panels. The second one is the tables. The third one is modals, dialogues that pop up and let you, stay in the context of the page while still accessing more options. And the fourth element is the forms. So, providing inputs, providing separate, things to display and update information in pages is, quite a common thing and need. So the first thing that you need to do is just npm or yarn install the dependencies, at BigCommerce/BigDesign. You also do need style components version 5. This is a pure dependency, so just make sure that it is available in your application. The second one is just pasting this snippet. You'll make sure to load all the fonts, put it in your head elements in your index.html page. And the last one is your global styles. So import these global styles element directly from BigDesign and just put it somewhere in your app. I'm going to jump into my app here and just quickly show you how that looks like. So this is my global styles stuff that I imported directly. Pretty straightforward. So first up is panels. How do we use panels? Very easy. So we'll just import the panel from BigDesign. And then there are two main properties that you want to keep in mind here. The first one is the header. So we'll do header, I don't know, we'll just call this like a sync products panel. And the other action that you want to do here is probably provide an action. Well, this is not strictly necessary. So you can have panels without actions, but if you do want an action in your panel, it'll show up as a button in the right corner of the panel. And actually, let's just do it without the action first, see how that looks like. We'll do text here. So if you do want to provide some text, just make sure to import the component there. That will make sure that you have the right typography and whatnot. So let's just do sync your products, sync your BigCommerce catalog. All right. Now let's jump back into the playground, and you'll see that now we have a panel. We have a panel with a header and some copy there that is not very interesting, but we'll make it a little bit more interesting in a second. So as I said, most of or some of the panels that you'll probably end up using, you'll probably want to create some sort of action for it. So here we can use another shorthand prop that will let you do that very easily. So you can provide a text for your action. We'll just say add product or whatever. And then I can also provide an on-click handler. I'm just going to define it right here, constant click. This will be a function that will just alert at your products for right now. So if we go back to our page, you'll see a handy button here that will just magically appear. It'll have the right padding, the right everything in there so that you can, don't worry about those things and just focus on building your application. You can, though, customize that button if you don't want a primary, for example. So going back to our button props, we saw that we could have separate variants, like secondary subtles. So that is something that you absolutely can configure here. If we jump back into our code, we can provide a variant property here, and we can say, I don't know, let's go with secondary just for example purposes. So you'll see the button change, quite nice. So panels are really straightforward. That's really all there is. You can always obviously configure anything that you want to put inside the panel. And again, we do have some guidelines around how to use them. So you can refer to the docs if you do need more information on that. Let's jump into tables. So if we jump back into our sample application, you'll see that we have some tables here. Obviously, coding this from scratch can be quite a hassle. So we have a component that you can use that is really easy and will, let you save a bunch of time. So how does that work? We have a table component, so just import that. The two more important things for the table are the columns and the items. So let's start with the columns. And again, if at any point you are not sure what those are, let's jump back into our docs because it's very easy to miss and forget information. So you'll see the props. Sure enough, this takes a column array. Now, how does the column look like? Well, you'll see it takes optional and required props. You can see props ending with the asterisk required. So I'll just focus on those. So we do need a render function. We do need a header and a hash. The header is just the header title. The render is just a function that will make sure to render that thing that you want to display. And the hash is just a unique identifier that we use internally for housekeeping purposes. So don't worry too much about that. Just provide something that is unique. But let's jump back into our code and do some columns. So we'll do, as we said, hash. Let's just do ID here. And then the header will be product SKU, or let's just say SKU. And then render. Let's skip this render function for now because it'll tie a little bit, it'll make a little bit more sense when we get to the items. I'm gonna copy some more columns here. So we'll pretend our table will be kind of like a products table. So we'll have another hash for the product name. We'll do name, and then we'll do, I don't know, price. Let's do price. So this will be price, name, and SKU. So we jump back into our playground. We should see, yeah, it's kind of starting to look like a table. Obviously, we need some more work. So the first thing that I want to probably do that I forgot, I'll put it inside a panel just so that it looks a little bit better. So pretty easy, just open up another panel. We'll grab this table stuff, put it inside here, format everything. And okay, that looks a little bit better, cool. So now let's focus into our items. So for our items, we will just pretend that these are products. So we'll have, I don't know, an ID, that will be, I don't know, SKU1, and then we'll have, sorry, typo there. We'll have a header, no, let's have a name actually. So this would be like product 1, then we'll have a price, which would be like, I don't know, $5.99. So yeah, we don't see anything yet because we do need to take care of the render function. So how does the render function work? So the render function takes in an item that will basically be the item that will be rendered in that row. So fairly easy. Right now, we'll just do item.skew, oops, item.id, sorry, for this one. And then we'll do, same with the others, we'll do item.name, and I do have some error in there. I'm not sure if that's right. No, it's just live. Okay, that makes sense. And then for the last one, we'll do same thing, item.price. So how does this look if we refresh? My build running, it's still compiling. Yeah, always happens during the demos. Oh, I have an error, I guess. Oh yeah, this is from the typo earlier. Let's just get rid of that. Okay, perfect. Yep, so we do have an item. This is not very, interesting. So let's just copy a little bit more items here. I'm gonna modify SKU2, product 2, maybe this is a little bit more expensive. SKU3, product 3, and maybe this is, I don't know, like mid-range, $9.99. So, okay. So this is basically how tables work. Obviously, this is a very simple table where we just have columns and items. If you find yourself needing more complex stuff, just jump into the documentation. You'll see that we support a bunch of other stuff like selectables. You can have tables where you can select your items. You can have pagination. So if you have tons of items, you can always, have this handy pagination here to manage all that cool stuff for you. You can also sort them based on the headers that you provided. So you can, just click on that. So we do support other stuff here, but I'll just not do all that for time constraints. And yeah, those are our tables. I'm gonna go back. So basically now with what we've learned, we can basically code this panel with the table. The thing that we are missing is this add button where it pops up a model that lets you add a new to-do item. So let's just, add a new one, airport. Pick up my friend from the airport. So if we close this model, you'll see another item was added to the list. So how do we go around doing that with the model component that we have in BigDesign? It's fairly easy. So obviously, again, coding models from scratch can be quite a hassle. So just import the model component from BigDesign, and this will get you started pretty easily. We'll do just a basic hello world for now. Hello world. And for the model, there's a few props that you need to take care of before interesting things happen. The first one is actions. So what are our actions? So our actions will be the buttons that will appear on the model. So you can do, I don't know, let's do save, and let's do cancel. Cancel, and save. That looks good. Let's format that. The other thing that you need to take care of is a header. So your models should have a header. Let's say this is a new product, right? And lastly, and very importantly, we need a piece of state to tell the model whether it should be open or closed. The easiest way to do this is just use the React state. So we'll do const is open, set is open equals use state, import that from React, default that to false, and we'll just pass that over here. So is open equals is open. Cool. Now we will hook our is open to actually do interesting things. So instead of doing the alert, we'll just do set is open true. So this will take care of opening the model whenever you hit that panel action. So let's jump back. Let's see if this works. Cool. So we have a very uninteresting model right now, just a hello world. And if you do remember from the guidelines from the buttons, we should not have two primaries in the same page. So let's go fix that real quick. As you can probably imagine, let's also swap this around so the save is on the right. As you can probably imagine, very easy, just do variant secondary for this button. And then, cool. Now we have a secondary button and a primary button with the model. So the other thing that you probably want to take care of is clicking these buttons at the moment does nothing. So we'll also provide an on-click handler here that will basically just close the model. So we'll do set is open, pass false, and we'll do the same for both at the moment, just for simplicity. Now, if you click it, cool, it closes. So that is basically how models work. So we'll jump straight into our form. So going back to our sample app where you have the form inside the model, we want to provide some inputs for the user to be able to type stuff. So again, yeah, just doing all of this from scratch can be quite, cumbersome. So to make it a lot easier, just import the form component from BigDesign. This will give you access to your on-submit handlers that you are probably already familiar with. So let's just do prevent default for now. And the other thing that you do need to take care of is the form group. So if you want to group components, group inputs, you just use this form group. It'll give you the nice styling. It'll make sure that you have the correct widths. It'll make sure that you have the correct paddings and everything. So just use those and then input. So the input is a very simple example. I'm going to jump into the docs again real quick. So input component is a very simple, just like, thing to type text into. Again, let's jump into our props. It looks like you can use a description, a label, and also errors and stuff. So let's go with that for now. So we'll do label equals product name, and then we'll do description equals this is the new product description. The description, if I can type properly. What else do we want in our inputs? Maybe we want a placeholder to say like enter here, and then we'll just close that up, format, and then jump back into our playground. So cool, now that that is done, we have our input in our model, and we can obviously use this to type whatever we need here. Right now, it is not tied into, on change handlers or anything like that. But if we jump back into our to-dos page, I'm just gonna show the form real quick how that looks like with the other example. So this input looks a lot similar. It has a description, label. It does have an on-change handler, so you can always use that to, control the component as you see fit and as you need to. But yeah, that is basically what I wanted to show with these 4 components. I wish I could do all of them, but this is a lot to go through. So again, just refer to the documentation whenever you need more information on stuff, or just some other things that you can use. We have a lot of, for instance, for the forms, we do have inputs, radio buttons, searches, selects, checkboxes, counters, all of that cool stuff. So whatever it is that you need, we probably have it. And if we don't, you can always jump into GitHub and let us know.
Do a lot of the apps on our marketplace use BigDesign, or do you know what the breakdown is?
I don't know what the breakdown is. I do know that our internal stuff, as much as possible.
Anyone who's building an app for the marketplace could use it.
Correct. Yeah, it is an open source library, so you don't need any special permissions or anything.